Okay.
We going by that clock?
6:30. It's 6:30.
6:30. Six.
It is 6:30.
It is, I know it is 6:30, yeah. Probably actually past 6:30. All right.
Around 6:30. Exactly.
Hainsport Township Joint Land Use Board meeting for August 2nd, 2023 is called to order. The time is 6:30. We'll have a flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I'm Tom McKay, the vice chair. I'll be chairing this meeting because our chairman, Harold Kroh-Pfeiffer, is unavailable tonight for personal reasons. May I have a reading of the Sunshine Law, please?
Notice that this meeting was published according to the Open Public Records Act.
You didn't even need notes for that, Paula, did you? Said that before?
We have a standard announcement that there will be no new business started after 10:30 PM. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Klaus, absent. Mr. McKay,
Present?
Mrs. Kelly, absent. Mrs. Gilmore, here. Mr. Tricocci, absent. Mrs. Tyndale, absent. Mrs. Baggio, here. Ms. Cosco, here. Mr. Novarita, absent. Mr. Bradley,
Here.
Mr. Murphy,
Here.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Here.
and Mr. Kroh-Pfeiffer, absent.
We have a quorum.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You only have a total of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, 7. Yeah, you'll need to come up, please.
Okay, I thought it was like invisible.
Oh, and here comes Mrs. Tyndale also.
So she's here,
Yes.
then you don't need.
Will, yes. We'll need you up here too.
I need to.
Mhm.
Let's wait till Mrs. Tyndale gets here and then.
That's it.
Right there at the end.
Right here?
Yes.
Sure. All right. I'm going to, on the agenda, item B, case 23-06 JDEB, Marne Highway LLC. That's the Rife property on Marne Highway. Counsel for the applicant sent a letter in August 1, 2023, by email and regular mail to Paula Tiver, asking that this matter be carried again. It was carried once before to tonight. He wants it carried again so that he can address the planner's report sufficiently. He wants it carried to the next scheduled meeting, September 6, 2023, at 6:30 PM. Can I have a motion to accept and grant the postponement?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second then, I guess.
Okay. Roll call, please, on this.
Mr. Bradley,
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale,
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio,
Yes.
Ms. Cosco,
Yes.
and Mr. McKay.
Yes. And I'll announce for everyone that there will be no new public noticing of this. This notice of adjournment is sufficient for notice to the public. So if you want to attend this application hearing, be here September 6th at 6:30 PM. The D'Elia Law Firm letter of August 1, 2023, requesting the adjournment will be marked in the file as an exhibit. All right, Kathy, there's an administrative amendment for Hainsport Truck and Auto. Is that a short matter?
Both my mouths were short.
Can we do those, and then we'll move into I'm going to take that out of order to get that off the
I
agenda.
have a homeowner and the police court administrator.
Well, the homeowner is a bulk variance, right, for fencing?
It's for front yard fence.
Right, let's get rid of Hainsport Truck and Auto first, and then we'll go back to the homeowner.
Good evening, folks. Kathy Newcomb, Hainsport Township Zoning Officer. This comes before you in regards to the property at Hainsport Auto and Truck that was here probably a good year ago. There was a fire at their property, and they were here for a site plan, and I don't know if it was a use variance or not, in regards to rebuilding. The reason for this administrative change is because it's very minor in nature, is that in the course of the application on the site plan, there were two buildings that were in between the new one and one of the old ones that have been there for probably a good 25 years. Unfortunately, they were not proposed, or they were not imposed on the original site plan. Unfortunately, none of us caught that. With that being said, is that they still exist today. The site plan, the reason we're here is that we want the board to recognize that these two buildings were not on the original plan, but yet they still work for the site. I will have Mr. Miller from Alimo explain how they work, but we felt that it was not enough to make this a true application for the Hainsport Auto and Truck. We also have one of the representatives, Mr. Tom Amendola here, if there are any questions as well. But with that said, I believe you have the plan in front of you.
That's a plan and a couple of photographs?
There's probably some pictures as well. The Hainsport Auto and Trucks representatives had sent some of the pictures in with the application as well. But again, these two buildings have been there 20 to 25 years plus, and they are not an issue with what was approved at the time of the site plan. But again, we are back in respect to the board that we want you to recognize that those two buildings were not on the original site plan. And at this point, we can have Mr. Miller attest to the fact that it still does work.
All right, so I have 3 photos, black and white, and a survey or
Correct.
site plan.
Correct.
We ought to mark those photos A, B, C, and the site plan D for this matter.
If Ms. Tiger would like that, yes.
All right, and then put those in the file.
Yes.
And Marty Miller, anything to address on this application?
Well, when I went out there to see what I had to do for a occupancy permit, and they were supposed to be the whole plan was supposed to be done, I went out there and I saw the boxes, and I thought that wasn't on the original plan, and it wasn't on the original plan. And I thought that it was going to be a problem vehicle-wise. I have a big SUV, I drove it through there, although on the original plan it just showed arrows going by there and that you can pass through. I made sure that you could pass through with a full-size vehicle. I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Marty, has the fire marshal approved this?
Yes, he's fine with it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
All right.
It hasn't changed since day one. Again, the reason we're back here is to show the board that it does still work as it did before. Unfortunately, it was just not represented on the original plan.
All right, we have Mr. Amendola here.
Yes, we do. We have him right
Just
here.
come forward. I don't know whether we need any testimony from you, sir, other than at least to tell us that the 3 photos and the site plan that we have marked A, B, C, D exhibits are true and accurate.
They are true and accurate, and as Mrs. Newcomb said, that those structures have been there since 1989, when we put the paint booth up. And somehow it was just omitted when the site plan was prepared, so. And egress is, you drove your SUV, I drive mine through every day, it's plenty of room to get through.
All right. Do we need I think we need a motion to amend the site plan?
We need to see if there's any public comment, and yes, we need a motion to approve the amendment to the site plan without a formal application.
Right. All right, any other board comments before I open up to the public? Hearing none, we'll close the board comment portion. Mr. Avondale, you can have a seat.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So this matter is now open to the public. You all heard what this is about. Anybody have any comments to make who are sitting here or online? No one sitting here has raised their hand. Anybody online unmuted?
No.
All right, I'll close the public section, there being no apparent interest in commenting.
We need a motion to amend the site plan without a formal application.
Okay. You all, the board's heard that. Can I have a motion?
I'll motion. What you said.
Amend the site plan without a formal application. Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion is made and seconded. Can I have a roll call?
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. All right, the motion is approved. Mr. Amendola, you're done.
Thank you, board members.
All right, next matter is A on our list. Luciano, case 2311, block 111, lot 16.038, 35 Mount Laurel Road, a bulk variance for front yard fencing.
Yes. Hi.
Before you say anything, I gotta swear you in. Raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
And you are Jamie Luciano, I
Yes.
assume? Okay. You're the property owner along with your husband?
Yes.
All right, you're seeking a bulk variance for front yard fence, is that my understanding?
Yes.
All right, tell us what you want to do.
We want the fence to be a little bit closer to the road so we have more use of the yard. I have a daughter, we have dogs. So it would kind of be in the middle of the front yard. So we'd like where you guys deem it should be right now. We'd like to just move it a little bit closer to the street.
Is there a fence there now?
No, not yet.
Okay. How far back from the edge of the pavement?
Yeah. So 15 feet from the property line.
Okay, but my question is how far back from the edge of the pavement is that, if you know?
So, Mr. Chairman.
15 feet, right?
Along these properties on the county roads, we've had many of these through the years in regards to because the RR5 zones, but fencing or not, is not permitted. On average, it's 15 feet from the front property line. Again, it doesn't always mean pavement, it means property line. So at that point, that's what she's asking for on the setback for the front yard.
I did hear that, I did understand that perfectly, but my question was a little different. It was,
I'm sorry.
how far back from the edge of the pavement? 15 feet from the property line, but the property line is not on the edge of the pavement, I assume.
What do we have?
Well, we have to take a look at the survey, and I have full-blown one here in front of me. I don't know if anybody can tell.
Yeah, the road surface.
It's not.
It was in last month. It was in last month.
I don't see here.
Yeah, I'm trying to see how far that is in, but it's not scalable, it's not giving me any number.
It's with the application.
Mrs. Luciano, do you have a survey that you can hand up and we can mark as an exhibit?
You all have that in your copy,
All right,
because I have the copy that was submitted to you guys, and I have that survey here.
do we have an
Yeah.
exhibit copy?
From us? Yes, it's in the file.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll mark the exhibit copy.
Mr. McKay, would you like this?
Yeah,
Yes, I see.
I have it. Thank you, but thank you anyway. I want to mark I know it's attached to the application, but we'll mark the exhibit copy as Exhibit A. So this county road, Hainsport Mount Laurel Road, has no sidewalk. Has hardly any pavement shoulder on the road. And you're proposing to put the fence 15 feet back from your property line, but again, do you know how far back from the actual road pavement edge that is?
That would be in the survey, and Kathy and I were just looking at that.
I'm not seeing any number there of the distance between that.
I don't see a number either, but it looks like the property line, and correct me if I'm wrong, runs along Hainsport Mount Laurel Road to what you're referring to as the pavement there. And Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I'm,
Okay.
Do you have any information about that? I mean, how far back this fence is going to be from the pavement edge?
I don't. I have to go from property lines.
Well, I know. All right, is this fence going to be 360 around the whole property,
Just the front.
front yard? Okay.
And then if I could just say one other thing, this house is about 2 years old, and so I've looked at the survey many, many, many times. And this piece of land, and you had asked me if I knew. To the best of my knowledge, and I'm not as well versed in this as everybody else here, it looks to me like the property line starts at the pavement.
That's a guess.
Looking at the diagram, it looks like it's 9 feet in from the pavement for easement.
Can you?
You have way better sight than I do.
You're an excellent reader then.
Bless you.
Okay, so assuming that 9-foot distance is correct, 9 feet to your property line and then 15 feet back from your property line. Is that where you want to put the fence?
Yes.
Or 20?
I have a question.
Yeah,
I'll let you go first, how's that?
You said it's only going to be along the front of the property, but how's that going to contain?
We have existing fence on either side that's
Comes out
been
as-
there.
That comes out as far as where you want to put this front?
Correct,
So you're going to be just attaching to
correct,
pre-existing side?
correct, yes.
Are you gonna have any kind of a barrier, screening or mesh on the fence?
Yeah, like that, through the fence, you mean?
Yeah, it's two red.
Right, and then, yes, the post,
So we're gonna-
and then that mesh as well.
So, okay.
It's like a welded wire.
Yeah,
Any plans on putting any kind of plantings in front of it, between the fence and the street? Nothing?
not at this time, I mean, potentially, unless is that something I have to get approved by you guys for landscaping purposes?
I don't think you're gonna have to get,
Yeah. I mean, we're still in the process of, it's been a while, but we're still in the process of landscaping and things like that, so potentially, something there, but, and obviously my dogs and children will never be unattended out there.
so we're thinking 25 feet from the road? or 25 plus 9?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
34 feet from the road?
15 plus.
15, okay, so 20.
And this,
18.
my understanding is that the property line is at the road, and you're now all saying that it's 9 feet in?
So 9 plus 15, we're looking at 24 feet in from the road. Is that what we're looking at? Yeah.
yeah, is there going to be a gate,
Yes,
so automatic gate?
yes,
All right. So you've got enough room to pull off the road and...
correct. And that is depicted in the copy of the survey that you guys have.
Yeah.
We actually drew that in. I know that has to be 30 feet from the road.
So, Mr. Chairman, in the past, when we have approved these, the optimum setback for the gate was approximately 30 feet from the road or the property line, however you folks want to define that, which allowed the applicants to at least put 1 or 2 cars in and have enough to be off the road for safety factor, but they can still get out and under the gate 30 feet up, but again, they're not against the road.
So is 30 feet from the road edge been, I hesitate to use the word a standard that we follow, but...
Correct. We just did one on Fostertown Road about a year ago, where there was one with a similar issue and the gate and was 30 feet back, which you approved.
So would your fence follow the straight line? So
Correct.
therefore be 30 feet instead of 24 feet?
No, it looks like there's a little cutting.
Oh, it's gonna cut in, okay.
Right.
So, I got, oh yeah.
So if you kind of look at the smaller picture right here.
I just saw it when she picked.
Oh, you
pointed
did?
it out.
Okay,
Thank
because
you.
actually the smaller one depicts like where the gate and things will be.
I wish we had a good drawing of this that was legible. We don't. But would you just put on the record the description of what this fence is going to look like?
It's a white split rail fence, 2 rung, and it will have that mesh, you know, that kind of gets attached to the fence that, just for another safety feature. And then the gate will look similar, you know, just like the fence, but obviously it'll be a gate.
Is the mesh invisible or
Yeah.
like chicken wire or what?
It's basically chicken wire, but it's a thicker material.
It's called welded wire.
Okay.
Keep dogs in.
Correct, yes,
All right. And this is white vinyl
yes,
to look like split rail?
correct.
Is that already in the rear? Is it the same fence that you have to the right?
Correct.
In the backyard?
Yes,
Okay, I can see that.
Oh, there it is.
Do we have a photograph of it?
Yeah.
The photograph?
Right next to the house.
Is that it, peeking around the corner of the house
yes,
by the garages?
yes,
So a duplicate, you're going
Oh,
to
okay,
duplicate
so
that in the
So
front
that's the
yard?
fence that carries out to the, on both sides. And that's where you're gonna have the front.
so the fence that goes on either side, initially years and years ago, that was like a farm property. So there's fence from, down either side of our property that's actually depicted in the surveys and things like that. We would be attaching it to that. Now, we go around and reinforce those fences all the time if there's any issues or anything. So all we're asking for is a fence across the front of the property, along Hainsport, Mount Laurel Road.
Mr. Chairman, the previous fence that she's talking about is actually part of her parents' property, that was the Q Farm, that they came for subdivision maybe 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, and that this was approved at the board for a house, and the subdivision and the rest of that property around that is Q Farm.
All right, does the board have any other questions of the applicant?
Oh, what are we talking, 24
Well,
on the road?
that's the question. Ultimately, that's the question. The standard seems to have been 30 for other approvals.
Well, it's 30 feet for the driveway.
The gate.
Right.
Right.
There's several large trees in this picture. How are you going to get around?
No, that looks, can you hold that up again? I'm sorry.
It's the first picture, just of your full house.
Right, those fences or those trees are not relative to where this fencing would go if we're approved. It should
So where would
not
the-
go up-
behind the
The front of the tree.
Front.
It's obviously more than 9 feet.
Relative to that picture, your photo of the front view of the house with the two major trees in the front, is the fence going to go in front of those trees?
In
or
front,
In
yeah.
front of those trees? Okay, are there any other trees more than 4 inches in diameter that are going to be cut down for this
No.
fence?
No, let me know. Everything's is clear where it is. There's nothing to cut down, there's nothing to do there, except hopefully put a fence.
I guess I'm still, and maybe the other board members can jump in here, I'm still a little uncertain about the distance back from the road, given the gate issue. And I'm wondering why we just can't have the fence 30 feet.
So the fence would come across the property line, right? Or from what I am understanding, and the building process and the surveyors and all the people told me that the property line was at the street. So the fence would go across the street. Then, as we discussed, we would have gates when you pull in the driveway. There would be, the gate would be 30 feet up to allow safety for the cars coming in. We would extend the fence that was coming across the front of the house and sort of angle it to meet the gate, if that makes sense.
So the gate is going to be 30, close to 30 feet. So if this was the road, and
Right.
this is your beautiful home here.
Thank you.
It's the road. The fence is going to go 15 feet from the property line, which we believe is close to the road. 15 feet in, but where the driveway is, it's going to be angled in.
Yes,
Okay, so you're going to try to create some safety there.
Correct.
I don't know if it's 30 feet or not, but you know, roughly know how far the gate itself is going to be from the property line?
30 feet,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So, just so, because we're playing, the gate is probably going to be about 39 feet from the road. Because your property starts 9 feet from the road.
And it's
I just want
39
to make sure
feet.
you're getting what you want, or you're asking for what you want.
Right.
Yes.
So the
So it's-
gate is going to be, is my math right? If the property line starts 9 feet, does the gate have to be 30 feet off the road or 30 feet from the property
So you
line?
have to understand, in my point of view as a zoning officer, I go off property lines. I don't use roads as any form of distinction. That's your folks' decision, not
Right.
mine.
But, so, are we right? Is the 9 feet starts, we think 9 feet starts your property line. You know, I mean, I don't know who knows it, but that's what it sounds like. Do you agree with that? I mean,
I think we basically need to, whatever plan that she has, that shows the property lines, which she has to have had it for building the actual house. So I would say that wherever that property line is on that survey plan, then she's asking for 15 feet from that.
yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm just
So
worried about the
15
driveway.
feet The driveway is going to be 30 feet, so there will be a difference of 15 feet between where the fence is and where the gate is in the driveway. Is that right?
Is that okay with you?
And the fence will just cut in at that point.
Thank you.
It's going to
To
be
be pretty,
diagonally
yes.
in
Right.
to the
The
gate.
rest.
Okay, so you're good with,
So we don't have the official survey
yeah,
at this point,
Gotta have
but it is in existence.
Well, you do have it, because it's right
Okay,
here.
that little,
That is
okay,
literally the official survey.
it's that small? You don't have like a big?
That-
It's not
big, right?
the scaling size.
Right,
I will have to tell you, the other ones that we've approved through the years, I've actually met the fence companies out there and have taken my wheel and made sure that I walk with them in order to meet the requirements of the resolution.
Okay. And so what she is asking for is what has been in the past standard for Hainsport Township. Is that correct?
she's violating that standard, that's why she needs a variance. That's what we're gonna,
But that's what our standard approval has
I
been.
thought it was 125
That's
Off a county
the front
road.
yard setback for that
county,
zone.
for county road, yeah, that zone.
No, for the RR5 zone along the county roads. We have properties on the county roads that are in the RR5 zone. They're in the R1 zone. So what you have to remember is that every zone in town has different setbacks. You could have 5 different zones along every county road here. That in her particular case is in the RR5 zone. So her front yard setback is 125 feet. That's why her house is that far back as well.
Right.
But again, that's not what the applicant is requesting for the front yard fencing,
Right.
because front yard fencing is not permitted anywhere in the RR5 unless you are an agricultural use, and then that doesn't come into play at all.
Kathy, the houses along Fostertown Road, if you're going south on Fostertown Road, there are a couple places have white fences as the
Yes, they're all into
applicant.
the board.
And recently, within the past couple of years, the guy asked for a wooden split rail fence.
Correct, that's down about as far out as Hainsport down toward Mr. Trotter's house at the end of Hainsport.
Yes, correct.
They had the property that was part agricultural, and then they were the ones that had the rancher with the 3 little girls who had the wooden one, correct?
And what, do you know how that's zoned? Is that RR1?
That's RR5.
Oh, that is RR5.
Yes.
We can just
Welcome to my
help you.
But that's the same as hers, right?
Yes.
And that's right off the road.
Yes, theirs is actually one of the few that was a little bit closer. And that was because of the depth of their front yard.
So what you're saying is this is not, we're not setting a precedent for RR5.
If you're asking my opinion, no, I'm not a legal attorney. so I
variance
can't
sets a
tell you that for
precedent.
sure.
Each
Well-
one's individual to the.
That's right.
All right, can I ask for planner's comment on this?
Yeah, just on a couple of points. One, the detail on the far right side, the driveway dimensions that are shown actually show a minimum of a 10-foot setback to the property line, to the edge of pavement.
Right.
And when I look and I zoom in with my phone, because I also am chronologically challenged, there is a dimensioned setback from the center line of the road to the property line of 43 feet. It's a 66-foot right-of-way, so there is an extra 10 feet. It seems pretty close to 10 feet between the edge of pavement and the property line. So as long as you go from the property line, 30 feet to the gate would mean 40 feet from the actual traveled lane, which for the gate is really the more important thing. You want an Amazon truck or another small delivery box truck to be able to pull in and get their tail out of the travel lane. So I think that there is at least 35 and up to 40 feet for that gate, using a 30-foot setback from the property line. The fence at 15 feet is really more of a judgment call for the board of having it that close, or whether having that at 20 feet with a 5-foot angle or some other. But from a safety standpoint, the gate setback is really the more important, and and 35 to 40 gives you a safe pull-off for that.
So it looks like she's 10 feet from the road starts her property line,
Correct.
according to the
And we're
plan.
going 15 feet
So,
beyond that.
are you willing to go 30 feet from your property line, which would be 40 feet from the road?
For the
What do
driveway,
you,
right?
for the
For the
gate?
gate,
The gate.
yes.
What do you think?
Yes.
Is that okay with you? I mean,
Whatever you guys say at this
well,
point.
we want to make sure you're asking for the right thing, that you, what you want.
Correct.
And then we could say yes.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
ask us, is
right,
that what you want to ask for?
yes,
30 feet from your property line, which is 40 feet from the road.
Yes, to the gate.
For the
Correct.
gate. For the gate.
For the gate, just for the gate, that's
Yeah.
all it seems to be an
Yep.
issue.
That's part A. Part B is where does the rest of the fence go?
Right.
You know,
Well, that's part
where does
B.
the fence
So
go?
the fence is 15 feet from the property line, right?
correct.
Which is,
And the property line now they're saying is 10 feet. So it's basically going to be 25 feet from the road,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
yeah, with that. 25 feet from the pavement edge, basically.
I will
Yeah.
make sure I have my wheel out there.
Yeah, Kathy.
Okay.
All right, are there any other board questions on this then? And then let me open it up to the public. Members of the audience, any comments from the public on this application? Hearing none, I'll close that portion. Anyone online is unmuted?
No.
No, all right, public portion is closed. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we allow this application with the main fence 15 feet from the property line and the gate, the gated driveway 30 feet from the property line.
Second.
All right, and the fence, you're also putting in an approval of the fence as described by the applicant?
Correct, yeah. That's why we have him. He's, yes.
All right, have a second?
I second.
Second, okay, roll call.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Now, she's not allowed, all right, legally, you're not allowed to do that until they're memorialized. Correct?
Yeah, when there's a yes, signed,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do what Kathy says. She said, ask my question. I'm wondering if if it's possible for us to get the waiver to start this now, rather than, I think it's the 45 days until until the next meeting.
I'll make a motion, we grant a waiver.
Before you do that, is there any requirement from the county regarding the fence on that county?
No.
Sorry.
or if you ask for that, then if there's any issue that comes up and you put the fence up before it's actually signed, but before the resolution is actually signed, then the problem is yours.
Correct.
You take that risk.
Your neighbors are okay with it?
Yes. Yep, I've had a lot of neighbors come over to tell us how excited they are that we'll have a fence, and the progress they've seen on the property and things
Oh,
like that.
beautiful.
Oh, thank you very much. So a couple neighbors across the street got their certified letter and came marching over to say, we can't wait to see what you do next, and, for the fence. I thought I was excited about the fence, so were they, if it all works out.
The fence guy's excited too.
Yeah.
Your fence?
Yes, I'm sure.
That's a big fence.
All right, can I have a motion on the waiver?
I'll, re-mention the motion to approve the waiver.
And I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. All right,
Okay, good
All
luck.
right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Good luck.
all right, case D. Item D on the agenda, case 2310, Block 98, Lot 2.04, 3 Mary Way, FRG X NJ1 LP, the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, I think I have to recuse myself.
Yeah, okay. How we,
You're good.
still good?
Yep. You have 7.
Yep.
That's used very much.
All right, sir, good evening. Can you introduce yourself?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me for your fence night here in Hainesport Township. Greatly appreciate the opportunity. My name is Kevin Naduke. I'm the owner and principal attorney of KD Law in Haddonfield, New Jersey. For the record, my last name is spelled D-I-D-U-C-H and pronounced Duke. It is my privilege this evening to present an application on behalf of my client, FRGX NJ1LP, for the proposal of a revision to a site plan application, bulk variance relief, as well as a use variance relief. The property in question is located at 3 Mary Way, Block 98, Lot 2.04, in the township's industrial zone. The property itself is approximately a 3.06 acre parcel that contains 30,000 square foot warehouse that currently houses ABC Supply Company, a local commercial roofing agency. The applicant proposes to construct a 6-foot-high fence in the rear of the existing building, as outlined on the fence plan that's been submitted as part of the application, as well as create an outdoor storage area surrounded by yet another fence, this time a chain link fence, which we have our professionals available to testify, as well as a representative on behalf of the applicant, who can also testify with respect to the type of fencing and operations of the site itself and what we intend to do. So
this is an application for a fence and a fence within a fence?
A fence, and another fence, that's correct.
Okay. All right.
Don't have me in, is that the song?
Do you have witnesses that?
We do. In fact, I would prefer to have them sworn in before we present.
Yeah, let's
the rest
have
of
them
our
stand up,
testimony.
come forward.
I have Mr. Rod.
Get them both sworn in at the same time.
Rob and Richie from Dynamic Engineering, standing immediately to my far left, and Mr. Corey Nagelberg, who is the representative on behalf of the applicant.
All right, gentlemen, be sworn
Raise
in.
your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Okay. Just a couple questions for council beforehand.
Sure.
Is ABC moving into this facility recently or shortly?
I'm going to defer. I believe they are already there at the moment, but I would defer to Mr. Nagelberg because he's more hands-on with the site itself.
Yeah, maybe the witness can give us
Good question.
a little history and then get into the details.
You can stand up and just speak to the microphone.
All right, first of all, give your
Of
phone
course.
number.
My name is Corey Nagelberg.
And what's your position?
I'm Director of Construction for Farrow Point, an industrial real estate firm doing business here as FRGX NJ1.
You're leasing the property to ABC Supply?
We are. They've been in possession of the space since January of this year. We went through a building permit process and over the last year did some renovations for them. They moved in there, they consolidated both of their locations. They were previously located at 7 Mary Way within the same park and also a location on Route 38. They've consolidated both locations into this building at 3 Mary Way.
All right,
They've been in the park for quite some time.
all right. Do you have some exhibits that you're going to use, or is the other witness going to introduce the exhibits?
Mr. Ritchie will actually be presenting those.
All right, so I'll defer to you in terms of the order of witnesses, counsel.
That's perfectly fine. I'm happy to call Mr. Ritchie as our first witness.
Mr. Ritchie, why don't you come forward, give us your full name and your company.
Sure. Full name is Rodman Ritchie. First name spelled R-O-D-M-A-N. Last name is Ritchie, R-I-T-C-H-I-E. And I work for Dynamic Engineering.
You're a professional engineer?
I am a professional engineer and a licensed professional planner.
Licensed in New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
Have you appeared before this board before?
Don't know if I've appeared before this board. If I did, it was a while ago.
Have you appeared frequently before other boards in the state of New
Absolutely, I've
Jersey?
appeared before many boards throughout the state.
And in those boards, have you been accepted as an expert engineering witness before those boards?
Yes, I have.
All right. Any board members have any question about qualifications of Mr. Ritchie? No, Mr. Ritchie, you're accepted as a witness, as an expert witness in your field of expertise. So please proceed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ritchie, you can take it away with your presentation.
Planning testimony.
Yes, the planning testimony as
All right.
well as, actually, I think the first order of business would be for us to describe the actual fence that's being installed as well as the location.
Sure, why don't we start with that?
Yeah, let's start. That's the, immediately, what my associate is holding up would be marked to, it was included in our original packet, but can be, for purposes of the presentation, noted as Exhibit A1.
That'd be fine. A1, somebody mark it.
And that's the fence plan.
Yeah, somebody mark the corner, so we have it.
Red pen, okay?
Red pen's fine.
A1. So I'd just like to point out that there's one change, or one difference between this exhibit and what was submitted with the application. I've since had a conversation with the fire official in town, and I've added a striped fire lane in the rear within this proposed loading area, or, storage area. So I just want to point that out. This here is a fire lane striping, 15 feet wide, running the length of the outdoor storage area. That's the only difference between this exhibit and what was submitted. And that's only because this was recently added to the plan for purposes of being able to present that to you this evening.
That's a striped lane that must be kept clear at all times, correct?
I don't know about clear at absolutely all times, but if there is a truck parked in that area, or maybe a pallet of some material or something, it would be very temporary in nature, and easily move in a moment's notice, that type of thing. So, but for, like, at the end of the day, when the business closes down and leaves, yes, absolutely, left free and clear for sure. So,
You've got a sort of a split screen exhibit there on the left, enlargement on the right, the total overview. Where's the striped fire lane on the left-hand?
Sorry, go ahead.
On the left-hand drawing?
Yes, let me explain the split screen. The left half of the exhibit shows the overall property, block 98, lot 2.4, approximately 3.1 acres. This is what I'll refer to as the front, the north side of the building, and the south side, back rear portion of the building is where the applicant is looking for to store outdoor materials. And that, on this overall site plan, is we're showing the fire lane through the middle of that outdoor storage area. The right-hand split side of the split screen is a blow-up of just the rear loading area. This is the building here itself. This is the proposed slide gate, 6-foot-high chain link fence, and a proposed 4-foot swing gate to the left of the building. That's the extent of the proposed improvements, is that proposed 6-foot-high chain link fence to surround the rear portion of the property, the site.
So council mentioned in his opening statement a fence within a fence. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, there's an existing fence that runs around the perimeter of the property. So I think what he's referring to is a fence to connect the building, from the building to that existing fence, and from the building around these the dumpster areas, and tie into this existing fence that's there.
As well, Mr. Chairman, referring to the fencing area for the outside storage component of the application as well.
To completely surround this outdoor storage area is basically the intent of the application.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a statement, please?
Yes, sure.
So this ABC Supply is in violation with me. This is why they are here. Because they moved in and then the applicant, I'm not sure if they did it or Farrow Point, whoever, put up a temp fence without permits.
Yeah, I see that in the photos that were submitted.
Correct. So I just want you to be aware that this is a temp fence that's up right now without permission. And that is why they're here, is because of my violation against them for everything that they are here for.
So is it, Mr. Rich, is it the temp fence that you were referring to a moment ago as the existing fence?
No, there's an existing permanent chain link fence that surrounds the property. That's there, that's not the temp fence that we're referring to. The temp fence is in this general area to the southeast of the existing building.
All right, I'm a little bit confused on the geography of this whole thing. I don't know whether anybody else is, but maybe I'm easily confused.
Yeah, please.
If I may, to help clarify this a little bit, so as Mr. Rich was describing, the entire site has a permanent fence, and we're looking for an outdoor storage fence within that area. As Ms. Newcomb?
Yes, please.
As Ms. Newcomb referred to, there is a temporary fence put up by the tenant of the building. We're looking to install a permanent fence on that location for the purpose of outdoor storage, for the tenant's use. But it is here, or if you look at blow up, we are proposing a fence actually here. There's already fencing here and here. So we are looking to just install fencing here and here. There's existing fencing here. There's existing fencing here.
Yeah.
We're looking to install a gate here so that no one can get through there. And then fencing here, again, to complete the enclosure.
And that, is
Yeah,
that fencing, is
the
that?
record, of course, won't know what here and there is.
Yeah. Is that fencing to replace or to legitimize, which, the temporary fencing that's been put up there?
It will replace and legitimize the temporary fence the tenant is in violation.
I have a question. The fence, if you're standing in front of 3 Mary Way, the fence to the right,
Yes.
is that Mary Way's fence, or is that Mr. Bruni's fence that has been there for umpteen years that goes along his flagpole piece of property that runs down to Mount Laurel Road? Because there is a flagpole piece of property next to this. That is Mr. Bruni's, that is on 38, it's not Mary Way. So whose fencing is that?
I believe the fencing is on the Mary Way property.
What is the need ABC has for this storage fencing, I'll call it?
And Mr. Nagelberg can answer that question.
Sure. ABC Supply is a roofing supply company, and the volume of material they move in and out, and the pre-packaging of orders that get picked up early in the morning necessitates them putting it out there overnight. They don't have equal labor throughout the shift, so it's much to their advantage to prepare it the night before for drivers to come in first thing in the morning and pick it up from outside. They move material in and out all day long and then prepare orders to be outside for that purpose.
Is any of the storage what I'll call permanent storage, whereas?
No, there are no permanent containers that will be dropped there. It's all palletized goods that can be moved at a moment's notice.
So it's like a staging area?
It's a staging area, is a great way to put it.
So sometime during the workday, the pickups for the morning get staged or placed out into this area?
Correct, and then loaded onto trucks.
And
So material won't stay there for multiple days at a time?
The material-
Anywhere in the outdoor storage area?
I couldn't say for certain that none of it could stay for multiple days at a time, but none of it is intended to be permanent. Again, it's all on pallets.
Well, all outdoor storage is temporary by its very nature.
Okay.
Because I think the board, just for clarification, a couple points here. One is, the submitted plan just says it's a fence plan. I think it's important that the fire folks understand that what you're actually proposing is eliminating 9 parking spaces behind the building and proposing to store other trucks, equipment, palletized material, bulk goods that will be delivered and remain around the perimeter for several days
It could be several days.
or weeks at a time?
I would say not weeks at a time, no. The volume of their business is...
But something new will come in and
Something new will come
then
in.
be there. So it is permanent outdoor storage. It's not like they bring things out the night before. It sits there until it goes away every morning. They will take delivery of bulk materials. It will be stored in there. And from our standpoint, that actually requires a use variance, which is one of the reasons they're here tonight. The fence is somewhat secondary and accessory to the outdoor storage. So the nature of this, and I think it's important for the fire folks to understand that this is actually, you're intending to store materials throughout this entire rear asphalt area.
No, we're not. I wouldn't say throughout the entire area. Obviously, there's a fire lane that's to be kept clear, and then on top of that, there are trucks that move in and out throughout the day. So it won't be loaded up with goods. ABC Supply will keep it all towards the rear, towards the fence. So I would say the description of throughout the entire area is not entirely accurate.
I'm just basing it on the plans that were submitted. They don't differentiate
Sure.
of where outdoor storage will or will not happen.
Understood, and identifying that and ensuring its compliance with any and all fire codes and other regulations is certainly an option for conditional approval, in addition to even just submitting a revised version of this before the resolution is adopted.
So, yeah, bear with me, I want to try to describe your business that I know nothing about. So, it's primarily roofing materials?
Yeah, ABC Supply is a roofing
Right.
building
Okay,
material.
I've done business. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. But, so trucks come in with roofing on them. Now, when they're unloaded, do they go right into the building or are they set on the ground?
It depends. ABC Supply takes deliveries in the front of the building. Some materials stay within the building. Some materials do get delivered to where the proposed...
So we're talking some materials could come off the truck and be set on the ground in the back of the building?
As staging, yes.
Okay. Now, is the ultimate goal of that material to be put inside the building at some point? Or does some of it stay outside?
Some of it, nothing will permanently stay outside because it's all customer goods, so...
So you might have an order for
Yeah,
that material
correct,
that you
because it's
might leave, you might not put in the warehouse, but take that order and set it aside on the ground.
Correct, that is possible.
So it's pre-sold goods that'll primarily be outside?
Yes.
In the form of a question?
Yes.
So then, all right, so there's always going to be a presence of things, but they're going to move?
They do move, yes. They cycle through.
And placed in designated spots.
And then what, your drivers come in the morning and load themselves? Or do you guys load the trucks for them?
It depends on what the material
I know,
itself is.
you're the landlord, right?
I'm the landlord,
Right.
but I can speak on behalf of the tenant's operation. I've been doing business with them for a few years now. Depending on the goods themselves, either they can be, the trucks, some of them have their own forklifts and cranes that can lift the material. Some other goods are lifted by a forklift done by labor from the location.
These folks were on 38.
Yes.
Okay. We very rarely saw roofing outside. There was some racking.
Correct. Their roofing was stored at 7 Maryway, also within this park. They've consolidated both operations into this building.
All right, well, so it's going to be moving around.
Yes.
But if a truck came in with pre-sold roofing for a large account, it's going to go out when you can get delivery facilitated primarily, and that's why it may stay a day or two?
Most of their goods are pre-sold, so they time their deliveries with their outbounds as well. Obviously, they may have a lag of
A day or two. That's what you're speaking about, the
Yes.
outside?
Right.
Yes.
But like you're saying, it's pretty much gonna be there almost,
Just
from the
different
eye, it's gonna probably look like it's there.
It will look the same.
Right, so there will be different colored pallets there. There will be pallets there all the time. They will just be rotating in fluid. So it is permanent outdoor storage. It's not something that they're asking for a temporary approval where from November 1 to January 1 during a peak season, they want to store it then. This is a year-long permanent outdoor storage.
And the fence is to keep that,
Correct.
The cyclone fences stay or go?
Excuse me?
The cyclone fences on the right side? What?
The cyclone, the
Chain link
chain
fence?
link.
The chain link fences?
The chain link fences?
What's shown in pictures, that will go, it will be replaced by permanent chain link fence.
Right, the planner is basically suggested, and I don't know whether this exists, but I kind of sense that it doesn't, that a plan that delineates now we know the fire lane, the specific storage area, the original fence, original perimeter fence, as well as parking areas, areas for dumpsters,
There is an
striping,
existing dumpster enclosure that's not being.
but still needs to be taken into account when organizing this area so it does not become chaos, if you know what I mean. With trucks parked, employees' cars parked, trash that might build up, the inventory for pickup that day that's put out there every day. Do we have such a plan?
I can speak somewhat to the dumpster location. I can speak to the dumpster location. It's shown on the plan. There is, if you look at the blow-up, where the dashed line is, there's a rectangular area. That is the existing dumpster enclosure directly to the right of the proposed storage area. So when it comes to trash and dumpsters, they've been using that location since they moved it. People have been using those dumpsters for quite some time.
But to answer the chairman's question, no. There's no.
That's what I was hearing. I got a
We have the
dumpster.
testimony sufficient to support where everything is and why it's there, but
Are there dumpsters inside the fenced area?
No, they're inside the dumpster enclosure.
So there isn't a roll-off trash dumpster in the fenced area?
No.
That dumpster enclosure was approved years ago when the Stevens owned that, and they came for the site plan approval for 3, 5, and 7 years way. That's when they were built.
Yeah, I just, I think the planner's point was that, and Marty Miller, our engineer, made the same point, that we don't really have any drawing that we can look at and that they can study that organizes this place, that shows us where the striping is for truck parking, car parking, exactly where this new security fence is going to go, given the striping for the fire lane. I mean, gentlemen, is that the kind of diagram, let me talk to our professionals. Is that the kind of drawing that we really eventually need in this case?
Well, I think it's important for the board to have, to understand how high is the material, where is it allowed to be, where is it not allowed to be. It becomes important for the next 50 years because Kathy and every subsequent zoning officer, if it gets too high, if it gets too big, will have to go out and be able to say, hey, you weren't allowed to have dumpsters. And there is actually for Mr. Nagelberg, there are 2 other dumpsters and a roll-off in that fenced-in area. Never mind. So the elimination of those 9 parking spaces and then adding We have a buffer in the rear. We also have potentially a residential buffer on that bottom left-hand side.
I haven't gotten to that, but I hear you.
So identifying those issues and making sure that the fire folks understand this is not just a loading and circulation area. There will be outdoor storage there. Are they still satisfied with a 15-foot wide up against the building, or do they want 20 or 25 feet, or at least have something to turn around? Because with all due respect, if there's a fire or something else happening here and they show up and somebody goes, hey, you gotta get a forklift to move the stuff, but the building's on fire, I don't think that's really an appropriate response. I've never in my career had somebody say, well, you can put some stuff in the fire lane, for a while. So I think that needs to not be.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Just because I want to clarify my statements and my comments from before. What I was referring to is the intention with this fire lane is that for almost all of the time, it remains free and clear of anything. But there is a scenario where a truck backs up to get loaded, and a forklift is picking up a pallet of material and crossing the fire lane to load the truck, and then backing up and avoid it, and then is no longer in the fire lane. See what I mean? So
using it for operations is one thing,
Yeah, that's all
but a
I-
pallet or a dumpster can't
be set there.
Can't go in that area.
Correct.
Right, we agree.
So, and even the truck wouldn't be parked there in the fire lane. It would always remain free. But it's not like the truck might back in to the fire lane and then park beside it. I just wanted to be clear that it's not like, a no enter zone where no vehicles or forklifts or anything would ever be within that fire lane. Vehicles, forklifts may cross through it from time to time, but that's all I wanted to clarify.
No, we understand that.
Okay.
I think that's clear. Getting back to this permanent temporary storage.
Yes.
That you're proposing here. It's been described as roofing material, but the planner made the point in terms of the height of the stack. So can you put on the record some information about that?
Certainly, Mr. Nagelberg.
Sure.
You were in a position to testify to that?
Yeah.
Right, understood.
It is the tenant's regular practice not to stack multiple pallets high because they move them so frequently. I've been there and seen one pallet high. I could imagine a scenario where they would have 2 pallets, but no higher than that. This is not meant to be long-term storage. So for them to be able to move pallets quickly is the entire point. So a relatively limited height, I would imagine less than 10 or 12 feet high would be what you would see if there were even 2 pallets high stacked.
So 10 or 12 feet would indicate 2 pallet stack.
At maximum.
5 or 6 foot would be a 1 pallet stack.
Correct.
1 pallet on the ground. All right. Can you address the issue of the buffering at the rear and the vegetated area and the potential for screening to be put in by way of
Certainly can.
landscaping?
Sure. The rear of the property is along the southern edge of the southern property line. And I believe it was referenced in your planner's letter, a 15-foot wide landscape buffer.
Right, paragraph 7.
That no longer exists. And the applicant is perfectly willing to restore that buffer to the satisfaction of your planner's review. We could present a planting plan for his review and comment.
And then as a follow-up, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize, it was omitted in our report. I'm not sure, and Ms. Newcomb may know this, I don't know that there was a tax map submitted. The parcel directly to the west, in the bottom left-hand corner on the plan, is that a residential land use, or is that also commercial?
So let me ask you this. If I'm standing in front of the building, it would be then to the right of that building.
But at the very rear of the parcel?
Correct. So this has some history. If you take a look on page 3 of Mr. Taylor's letter, you're going to note that there's a building behind him. That is Mr. Brody Square that backs up to this. There is a fire lane behind Mr. Brody's building along with a play area. The property that Mr. Taylor is referencing, it has been in place since this has been Mr. Brody's owns property. There is a flag lot that runs literally from where you described all the way down to Mount Laurel Road. That's where that fencing is. That fencing has always been there because that divides Mr. Brody's property in that flagpole area from Mary Way property. And it goes from Mr. Brody's back of his property, again, all the way to Mount Laurel Road.
So that property is then used in conjunction with the Bruni commercial site, so it's really a commercial property. So because of the lack of adjacency, the residential buffer of 50 feet would not apply. So on that left-hand side, that same 15-foot requirement would apply. And I think there's already vegetation that's adequate in that bottom left or western side of the property.
The majority of those properties back there have trees and buffering on their own properties as well. I guess the only question I would have would be the daycare center behind here. Is there anything that should be addressed because of that daycare center and the play area back there at that building?
So the applicant did, under 101C or whatever it is, there is a buffer required. There has been vegetation removed. The applicant has agreed. There is an existing fence. I think ensuring that fence is in good repair, knowing that there is a playground over there. But between the existing fence and the buffering, I think that should be sufficient.
Agreed.
All right. And you all, are you all, or is the applicant agreeable to the striping recommended by the planner?
Yes.
Yes.
On the pavement? So we have sort of an organized layout back there. A couple of other comments from the planner. There's no outdoor fabrication, assembly, or manufacturing going on outside?
No.
Mr. Taylor, what is the best way, in your view, to get this issue down on paper so we have a plan that can be evaluated? Because right now, I, for one, don't have a clear picture of where things are going to go. I mean, the engineer has said things are going to go here and going to go there, but it's hard to keep track of all of that unless it's on paper.
Well, we could submit a revised plan as a condition of approval that would include the designated areas for storage as well as the striping.
I, as one member of the board, I'm a little reluctant to approve the plan without seeing the revisions on paper and having our engineer and our planner review them. Because the site, while it looks simple at first, I think is pretty complicated when you get all these various issues that we've been talking about.
So, if I may,
I have a quick question.
excuse me,
How many employees do you have that need parking spaces on site?
ABC Supply has less than 10 employees on site.
Okay, where do they park?
They park in the front of the building as shown here, which other side?
North side.
On the north side of the property, that is a paved and a paved, actually recently repaved parking area.
So is that's not striped, right?
It is not currently striped.
Okay. So now when you come back with a revised plan showing your location of the storage area, you also show the striping, so you have addressed the parking facility that we had to question again.
Yes.
So if you do that, then that answers both questions, and you have a plan that we can see and recognize what's going on.
would you be willing to grant them some time to come back?
Correct. Any time that I have a violation that the applicant is coming to the board, it doesn't move me to move any further with the violation. If the applicant ignored me for 3 months and doesn't come back, then that's a different question. But anytime you have a violation, minor or large, and we have many of them right now, is that it fits the town and the applicant.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just wanted to make sure that you're there, we're all.
And I have to say, as I always do, is that if an applicant has been worked with me after the violation, the timing that they have, then I will put that on record as well.
Counsel, is the applicant prepared to go back to the drawing board literally and give us for the next, adjourn this until the next meeting?
Absolutely.
And give us the plan that we need to see and our professionals need to see?
Yes, I mean, you folks have a pretty tough job to do, so to also put your imagination cap on and sort of picture where things are, have that hold the way that it needs to hold in your position, I respect it.
Maybe you could delineate the fence in red or yellow or something so we can see it.
Absolutely.
We'll absolutely clarify things, yes.
That's an easy one. We'll come back and do it another time.
Yeah, and let me suggest, when you do it, you have a survey type plan, but also some aerials, and I know we have aerials of the site because I've seen them, but aerial photographs go a long way to help understanding where perimeter fence lines are, where revegetation areas are, and the like.
Understood.
All right. So,
and I think just, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think that the prior plans had parking lot striping and truck parking out in front. So some of those, I mean, maybe we can try to check some of our files to be able to share those striping plans with you.
Fair.
Although it's all gone now with all the pavement, so.
It was gone before.
So we can use that as a starting point, but if there's something more efficient that works for their operations, feel free. The one thing I will say to the board, I had a conversation with Mr. Ritchie this afternoon. There are 9 spaces behind the building that they're looking to eliminate or do outdoor storage in that area. In addition, with the front parking as well. The one suggestion I made is, depending if they can get any efficiencies out front, or if the board were to look favorably at the outdoor storage and the temporary elimination of those, the board could have a condition that if at any point in the future there's any kind of a parking problem anywhere on the site, the applicant would be required to reduce their outdoor storage area and reconstruct or restripe those parking spaces at the rear. So we know that there's never a parking deficiency. So I think that may be something that it may be helpful to give the applicant some feedback to help them develop a plan for the next hearing, if that in concept would be acceptable.
Yeah.
Are those parking spots in the rear, Scott, required?
So the accessible parking was shown in the rear as part of the Philadelphia hardware application that was back before this board for temporary outdoor storage containers, maybe 2021. They do have to provide accessible handicap parking on the site. I think if they go through the parking calculations and they don't need those spaces, and they can stripe enough out front, then it's sort of a moot point. But if they are needed, perhaps they could be almost sort of green banked. They could store there temporary, until such time that they might be needed in the future.
Thank you.
Hey, you've done a nice job on there so far, that's fixed it up. Paving was a mess, buildings look better, looks good.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
So I frequently, and I emphasize that, and I'm sure that Mr. Corey is well aware that I'm on this site on Mary Way a lot. With that being said, when Stevens owned this property, the approval for these trash containers in where the cement surroundings are, the walls, the reason also that they were put there is that because there was no fencing anywhere on this property, and it was very easy for all the tenants to just come out and put their trash in that. So one of the questions that I have for the applicant in seeing in these pictures the dumpsters that are on site in there, is it best stated that ABC Supply has so much waste that they need these large containers compared to the normal green ones that go in these bins? No. Is that the reason why they're out here?
I'm not.
So when I was there Saturday, there were at least 2 dumpsters and a full roll-off
Exactly.
dumpster, like a 30-yard, on the site. So,
The two dumpsters are generally within the enclosure.
all right, well, they were sort of in the rear part. So I think between now and the next meeting, to be able to circle back with ABC and get that resolved. And if they don't work, as Kathy's saying, if they don't work in the common outside trash enclosure area, and something has to go in this site, then just show it. Let's address it, figure out where it goes and how
Exactly.
it gets handled.
And Mr. Taylor's point is right. Let's make this not an enforcement issue. Let's make this that if the board were to choose to move forward with this application, let's resolve and put something on the site that is beneficial to ABC, doesn't become me making violations because you have that. We want to be fair to the tenant. They have been here for a long time as well. But it doesn't make any sense not to address that because, again, I agree with Mr. Taylor. I have seen these 30-yard dumpsters out there. I already have issues on the site with some of the other tenants. So I'd rather get this resolved and be beneficial to the ABC Supply, that if they're going to be in need of it, let's address it now, not 6 months down the road get another violation from us.
No problem.
Fair enough.
So, Mr. Kingsbury, you think there's a need for public comment at this point, or can we hold that until the next presentation?
I think there should be public comment if there is any, so they can know what the public is thinking.
Fine. Hearing that, we're going to open it to the public for comment on this partially completed presentation. Any public comment? Seeing no hands from the audience here, we'll ask about the online crowd. Anyone unmute?
No.
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 All right, so there appears to be no public comment at all on this. So just to recap, gentlemen, we've agreed that we will carry this, and I'll ask for a vote on a motion to carry this until the September 6th meeting. Is that agreeable?
Well, let's make sure that that works for them.
Well, that's what I just asked. Is that agreeable, or do we need to go to October?
No, I believe September 6th should be more than sufficient. We just want to make sure that it's not a
Yeah,
conflict.
just tell me that it is or it isn't, so.
Says the man who doesn't have to revise the plans. Sorry, Counselor.
As long as I'm doing what my wife tells me to do.
There you go.
Yes, I have that evening available.
So you can get them to our planners and our engineers in time for them to review and comment?
Absolutely.
He needs them by tomorrow to be ready for the meeting.
Believe me.
All right, how far in advance do our engineer and planner need the plans?
Well, it needs to be in 10 days, and because of the nature of the submission, you know, we can make that work. It doesn't need to be any further than that.
Okay.
I do think because of the nature of this, you should probably, because it's a use variance, our ordinance technically requires that you need site plan approval for something that's this small, and because it's an existing site, a detailed use variance plan may be sufficient. I don't want to speak for the board, but you may want to amend the application to include a formal request for waiver of site plan approval and ask that a use variance plan work in its stead.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up, because that's really the long lead item. If I have to do a survey, get an updated topo and outbound survey to prepare to be the base map for a formal site plan, then that delays things. Then we can't make it September 6th. That's going to take more time. So if we can prepare a use variance plan that's not a formal site plan, but certainly something that indicates these areas in a clear manner, that's, you know, that you guys can read and understand.
Right.
This use variance plan will be all on existing conditions,
Yes.
so it won't require a survey.
Right.
Great.
And pretty much all of your work, and this is why for the board, aside from revegetation, 100% of everything you're doing is in existing asphalt paved areas anyway.
That's right.
So the need for a full-blown site plan may not be necessary.
All right, so I think maybe there's two motions here. One is for the board, for someone to make a motion that the board grant the request to waive full site plan.
I'll make a motion that we waive a full site plan for the...
All right, can I have a roll call on that?
Need a second?
Need a second.
Second,
Okay.
roll call?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Ms. Casco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. And then I need a second motion to adjourn this to the September 6th meeting at 6:30 with the applicant, given the applicant's consent.
And, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify one issue, for notice purposes, would you like us to renotice this application as well, or would the previous notices be sufficient? There was one issue that was brought to our attention. Thank you so much to Ms. Tyra for giving us a call and letting us know. One applicant did not have their mail addressed to them in the proper form. I was able to contact the applicant, get them to understand what we were doing, and waive their right to the 10-day pre-notice requirement under the municipal land use law. I do have a signed letter from that resident with me tonight that I could submit to the board, so.
Well, I'll make a
We have
motion.
something he signed to waive.
Yes,
Okay. All right.
on the advice of my lawyer.
I'll make a motion that we forward this application to the next meeting without notification to the local residents.
And you did notice for the D variance, correct, for the use variance for
Yes.
outdoor storage? Okay.
Yes, we did.
Thanks.
All right, so we have a motion to adjourn this to the September 6th date without the requirement of renotice.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Ms. Casco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. See you in a month.
Thank you very much.
Kevin?
All right,
Did you read that letter?
we're going to move on to approval of minutes from the April 5th, 2023 meeting.
Can you, Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Give me a second to get Mrs. Gilmore.
Yes.
You want me to email it to you? Is that easy? You want me to email it to you?
I'm not quite sure what,
I'll have the original with me. Okay. Since it's fair enough, I'll keep the electronic copy. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. McKay?
are we ready to proceed?
Yes, please.
Can I have a motion on the minutes for April 5, 2023?
So moved.
Second. All right, roll call.
Mr. McLaughlin, did
Yes.
you? Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
I don't believe you were at that meeting.
What's that?
I don't believe you were at
April
that
5th?
meeting, right?
Let's see.
Oh, maybe not. No, why would was it? Okay, you know better than me.
Yeah, I think
No,
you
it's
were-
not.
that was the meeting that you stopped in. and then
So, Mr. Bradley, you want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from the April 5th meeting.
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mrs. Gilmore?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. All right. Skip over resolutions for a moment and just go to correspondence. Can I have a motion to receive and file correspondence unless there is some question on a particular piece?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
You just do all in favor.
Do we? On that, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? No. Motion passes. All right, finally, we have the Lillo's Pizza Resolution 2023-08. It's undergone several revisions. If anyone doesn't have the latest revision, please.
There's one final revision.
Yes.
Page 2 of the resolution, at the top, item 4, is deleted.
Is deleted. Correct.
That is not something I applied for, so it's been deleted.
Right. And the resolution I have has,
Yeah.
has that deleted. So I have a correct resolution. I think, hang on a second.
Guess that would be it.
Yes, I do. 1, 2, 3 on page 2, and then we move into B, correct? Okay. So, this resolution was on the agenda before, but was taken off because of the need for some amendments. Those amendments have been made. Is there any question that any of the members have on the resolution? All right, can I have a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion and a comment. As a result of some of the comments that the board made to the applicant, some of his business practices have changed for the better insofar as much as alleviating traffic, from what I understand, some call ahead, some delivery services, and some other things. So I think it was a productive meeting, and with that, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Tyndale?
Yes.
Mrs. Baggio?
Yes.
Ms. Costco?
Yes.
And Mr. McKay?
Yes. Because all I have is red, I don't want to sign this. All right. Yeah, I was going to say, is there any other comments from the board?
Do we have any understanding of the timeframe when Rita's Pizza is supposed to be coming back? And the reason I ask is it is in violation.
Violation?
I'm not able to answer that question.
Are we aware
What are they in violation of?
for Rita's pizzeria.
Are they required to come back? I thought that the board listed conditions of approval, so they'll have to,
Have they submitted anything?
no, so they'll have to submit revised plans for resolution compliance and signatures.
Okay. Do we
Before
have
the
any
issue.
idea? I mean, because I don't want this to fall by the wayside. I mean, do we have, has nothing been submitted yet to
Not,
this?
not that I'm aware of. Paula, have you heard anything from them? So it may make sense when this gets forwarded to the applicant, the adopted resolution, to remind them that this was initiated by a violation and they still have to go through resolution compliance as a little reminder. And again, the applicant was pretty clear. He makes cheesesteaks and pies for a living. This is a daunting process, so maybe a gentle reminder.
I have no problem with that.
I said
Well,
Curse.
well, that reminder comes from Kathy Newcomb's office, I'm assuming, correct?
Correct. What'll happen is, and I agree with Mr. Taylor, when that resolution, and I will correspond with Ms. Tiger, that when that resolution is going to go out, then I will correspond my very gentle reminder along with that.
And it may make sense to ask him to have his engineer contact us, because I think it's going to be, there's going to be some coordination on some of those design things.
Right, because am I supposed to have an approved site plan then, eventually?
Yes.
Okay, that's what my bottom line is. Thank you.
Is there not an like timeline built into the process?
So much like we just talked about, is in violations, what happens is that if it's coming to the board for any reason or going through that process, my violation stands still, because you can't give the applicant a half dozen times. But what happens is that in this case where it's kind of in that standstill, is that I just can't let it go.
Right.
So now knowing that this is what the next step is. Now, for example, if in 2 months I don't have anything from Scott or Marty or anybody else, then yes, then the next violation can go out. But I'm hoping that his professionals will get on board to give the rest of the items to our professionals as well.
So the approval, the resolution, what he was requesting was to clear up violations or to address the violations that you issued to him.
Correct.
So there's no enforcement that says the things in this resolution have to be completed by within 60 days or?
No, the board didn't take that step.
Oh.
Resolution compliance can take 60 to 90 days. I think he's going to need a letter from the county.
In all reality, I'm looking probably more toward October to November. And you have to be fair to the applicant even when they're in violation, because when you go to court, the municipal court does not have a clue about land use law. And they like to bring it right back to the board member. So it saves us a lot of steps, and if we all work together on the same position.
Okay.
But can you just remind me specifically what the issue was? I thought it was parking and
Well,
egress.
he's expanded the pre-existing non-conforming use, which is the pizza hut. That's a non-conforming use there. He's expanded the parking lot without permission. He
Oh.
went ahead and did it on his own.
Okay.
Even though I told him not to. So at that point, that's, the violation goes out, he comes, you folks address it, and do what you need to, and then the back end is kind of my job.
So he still has to address some things like some drainage swales and some plants and some parking changes and adding buffer blocks. So there's a handful of changes that we need to go through that process.
Right, I remember that part. I didn't know he did it without your permission. I didn't realize that.
He specifically did it when I told him not to.
Well, the resolution has 10 or 11 items that he has to specifically deal with, besides getting county planning board approval if that's necessary.
And others in both courts.
Right, right. So it's more than, he came before us for more than just the violations, because then we imposed essentially site plan type requirements on him. So he left with a long to-do list.
Correct.
All right. Any other board comments?
Good job, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Happy
it.
summer and happy Labor Day.
Any professional comments?
Sorry, jump the gun.
It's not something we can discuss tonight, because it just happened a day or so ago, but Beacon of Hope has filed an appeal of their lot. It's been turned over to the GIF fund to see what they're doing with it. If we do discuss it in the future, it'll have to be in closed session. I'm not prepared to discuss it tonight, other than to let you know that it happened.
And what did you say, a GIF fund?
Insurance company. Joint insurance fund. That's where we get our
Oh.
insurance.
Oh.
They help
I
pay
didn't know
for
what that
litigation.
They
Yes,
appeal
yes,
to
all right,
the township or to the courts of in New Jersey?
They filed in federal.
Can the board in its next package, I don't know how big this complaint is, but can a copy of that complaint be provided to the board members in their next package?
I don't want to do anything with it until the GIF fund tells us the works the township of it.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Very long standing bill,
Right.
Our insurance.
and that's why we have insurance.
Pays the bill.
All right. I'm going to open it up for any remaining public comment before we close business. Yes, sir. Two hands up. Please come up. Gray shirt.
Got here late, so I don't know what happened to the application, number, B, JDEP Martin Highway.
Yeah, it's been carried at the request of the applicant. You're talking about the Rife property, right?
Yeah.
It's been carried at the written request of the applicant's attorney until the September 6th meeting at 6:30, and there'll be no further notice to the public about that adjournment, but you have notice now.
Okay, you got it. All right, thanks.
Okay. Yes, sir. Come on up. State your name.
My name is Luis Lopez. I live 98 Livers Drive. I'm a resident of Mount Holly. I have a couple of questions in common. First question is, the property right across the street from the warehouse on the bypass, was that two reading board? Who's that owned? Mount Holly or by Heensport?
What property? Can you say it again?
Street from the warehouse.
Across the bypass from...
Yeah, with the two board they have?
That's Hainsport, so the one by the grave site.
Yeah, with the two,
Billboard? That's surrounded on the corner of. Warren.
yeah, they have two boards right here.
That's a Hainsport.
Can that be used to build houses, or what's the future of that property?
At this point, we don't know until we have an application in front of us.
That property is privately owned.
Oh.
That much the board knows. And until the owner decides to take some action, that property sits there so long as he pays whatever taxes are owed.
Okay, what's the location of the pizza shop? Can you tell me?
It's on Martin Highway. It's on the Martin Highway.
Martin Highway, directly across from the entrance to the,
Industrial Park.
Industrial Park.
It's identified in the resolution as 2503 Martin Highway.
Okay, I appreciate it, for, having us guests. I learned a lot from going to multiple, land use board or planning board. That's how I learned, you can be better in the future.
It's nice to have you here, and nice to see that you're interested to ask questions.
And I want to thank to, Bob from Heensport and Evan from Heensport for letting me know about this meeting. I want to personally thank them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned
All right, good job.
at 10:08.
I tried to draw you, Matt. 21, I want to hire you. You tell Dick I want to hire him. Top line.